A common term we hear a lot nowadays is core memory. But what exactly is a core memory? According to Peachy Counseling, sounds legitimate, core memories are, quote, referring to a specific set of memories that hold more emotional value. Some examples of core memories might be your wedding day, graduation, loss of a loved one, a first kiss, or even a car accident, unquote. For me, and I'm sure my sister would say this too, one of my core memories, which I know I have talked a lot about on this show, is my parents and the music they used to play for me and my sister. One artist in particular stands out to me as I truly feel I was raised on her music, Tina Turner. From the moment I heard the album Private Dancer as a young child, I was instantly a fan, and said fandom has lasted my entire life. When she passed away last year, I felt a bit of a lump in my throat. An icon from my childhood, someone I associate with my mom, my sister, growing up near Chicago and seeing her perform, was gone forever. Many well-known musicians and entertainers weighed in after her passing. Questlove, for example, said, quote, "Long live the Queen," end quote. Angela Bassett, who played Tina Turner in the 1993 biographical film What's Love Got to Do With It, said, quote, "Tina Turner showed others who lived in fear what a beautiful future filled with love, compassion, and freedom should look like," end quote. And probably my favorite quote came from a noted songwriter named Diana Warren, who said, quote, "A survivor and a badass. Every note she sang shook the room and shook your soul. There will never be another like her. Shake the roof off of heaven, Tina Turner," end quote. Given that Tina Turner's music was such a huge part of my growing up, it seemed only appropriate to devote an entire show to her life and career. I can't imagine returning to my beloved podcast by covering any other subject. So sit back and relax and enjoy this look back at one of the greatest performers of all time. Thank you so very much for tuning into the Pop Culture Retrospective Podcast. This show is dedicated to the memory of my big sister Rebecca, a fan of all things pop culture, particularly of the people, places, and things that defined the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Welcome aboard this pop culture time machine. I'm Amy Lewis. This is episode number 99. Tina Turner. You know what I'm saying? Anna Marie Bullock, who we will refer to as Tina Turner for most of this episode, was born on November 26th, 1939 in Brownsville, Tennessee. She was born into a family of sharecroppers and was raised as a Baptist. Her parents' names were Zelma Priscilla and Floyd Richard Bullock. As a child, she would sing and recite movie lines to entertain her family. I couldn't find a ton of information about her parents, but I did learn that Turner's father was allegedly abusive, and her mother left him when she was 11 years old. Tina would go on to live with her grandmother for a few years. When she was 16 years old, she moved to St. Louis to be with her mother and sister Eileen after her grandmother passed away. Turner started singing when she was just a teenager. She also worked as a nurse's assistant during her teenage years and worked with children too. She was considering pursuing nursing or education as her career. Because Tina had moved to St. Louis earlier, she also decided she wanted to be a part of the rhythm and blues scene. Her sister would take her to nightclubs around the city, including Club Imperial. My sister, too, took me out to nightclubs periodically. When I came out of the closet, she took me to my first gay bar, which I recently learned was shut down due to a shooting. But, it was fun at the time, and that was a long time ago. So, times unfortunately changed in that area for the worst. But you know what? It's a thought that counts. Anyways, while performing with his band, the Kings of Rhythm, she met a performer named Ike Turner and eventually became part of their act. Tina stole the show with her charisma and showmanship. Eventually, the band name changed to the Ike and Tina Turner Revue.
Our show opens right now with the exciting Ike and Tina Turner review, and they're wonderful. So let's have a great episode.
Anna Marie started using Tina Turner as her stage name when she was 20 years old. Apparently, the name Tina was a brainchild of Ike, who was inspired by the television character Sheena, Queen of the Jungle. In 1960, Fool in Love became a top hit for the band. They became more and more popular and started playing larger venues like the Apollo Theater and later made television appearances. Ike and Tina Turner were married in 1962 in Tijuana, Mexico. Ike had 2 sons from previous relationships named Ike Jr. and Michael. Turner already had a son named Craig, who was born in 1958, from a previous relationship she had with the saxophone player from the Kings of Rhythm. She and Ike would eventually have a child together, Ronnie, in 1960. In 1966, the duo was asked to be the opener for the Rolling Stones. As the group became more and more popular, Ike became less and less faithful to Tina. He was having affairs left and right. Tina started to refuse performing his songs and traveling with him due to his infidelities. He wasn't having it, though. As an example, one time he beat her with a shoe stretcher when she stood up to him. Like the time she was hesitant to rename the band the Ike and Tina Turner Review, as she wasn't sure she wanted to stay with him. Tina felt bad for Ike, though, at the time, showing just how much he had manipulated her throughout their relationship. In 1968, Turner allegedly attempted suicide after taking 50 pills of Valium. She had endured years of abuse at the hands of Ike, and she just couldn't take it anymore. She had tried multiple times to leave him. Allegedly, Ike abused her for most of their marriage. She commented in later years that she felt terrible that her 4 children were constantly having to listen to their endless fighting. He was extremely controlling of the band. He served as a manager and controlled all of their contracts and performances. Ike was so controlling that musicians and backup dancers changed frequently. They just couldn't deal with him, and vice versa. Or, as I like to say, vice Nissan versa. Do they still make those? Anyways, Ike's refusal to have outside management derailed the group's success and growth. He did all this while struggling with a substance abuse disorder, one that he wasted an exorbitant amount of money on. Substance abuse and other contributing factors actually led to Ike's passing in 2007. His death was ruled an overdose via cocaine and other health issues. I didn't spend a ton of time researching Ike Turner specifically, but one thing to note, now that it's, an excuse, is that he had a horrible upbringing, which I think involved abuse, and he was eventually diagnosed with bipolar disorder. In 1969, Tina was nominated for a Grammy for her contributions to the Ike and Tina Turner Review song called The Hunter. In 1971, the record Proud Mary won a Grammy for Best R&B Performance. The song Proud Mary was a cover of the Creedence Clearwater Revival version, and it went to number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Something from us. Nice and easy. Well, I'd like to do that for you. But there's one thing, you see. We never, ever do nothing nice and easy. We always do it nice and rough. And we're going to take the beginning of this song and we're going to do it, you say, easy.
In 1973, Tina Turner wrote her first original song entitled Nutbush City Limits, which was a nod to where she grew up as a young child, specifically in a place called Poindexter Farm. It was a popular hit and her final contribution as part of the Ike and Tina Turner Review. In 1976, Turner finally found the strength to leave Ike. She left with just 37 cents to her name and a mobile gas card. He thought for sure she would come crawling back to him, but she never did. She slept on the floor her first night away from him. She wanted nothing from him other than the rights to keep her stage name. By 1977, they were divorced. Ike retained most of the couple's assets after the divorce with one exception. Tina Turner got to keep her stage name. Turner found a lot of hope and healing from abuse through her Buddhism practice. She did not turn to substances like her ex-husband to cope. In fact, she incorporated her Buddhism into preparation for her shows. She would chant beforehand for about an hour and would visualize the audience and trying to inspire them. Probably trying to inspire them to be simply the best. I mean, come on. Turner left the spotlight for several years following her divorce from Ike. She performed in cabaret acts and signed with her own manager in 1979. She had to travel on the road for 8 years to pay off her debts and the IRS. Apparently, and sadly, racism played a significant role in Tina's inability to get a record deal for several years after her divorce. But then came a turning point. In 1983, the greatest year on record, and my parents will know why, and close family members and maybe some friends. But anyways, in 1983, Turner recorded a version of Let's Stay Together at Abbey Road Studios. This becomes a huge hit and ends up on her 1984 smash album, Private Dancer. Because the song was such a big hit, Capitol Records offered her a record deal. She then lands on the cover of Rolling Stone. Private Dancer was released when Turner was 44 years old, which just makes me love her even more. It was her 5th studio album. She had just 2 weeks to record the album. It sold over 20 million copies worldwide and won 3 Grammys, including Record of the Year. Even though she had the flu, she performed What's Love Got to Do With It at the Grammys. Other notable and excellent songs on this album include Show Some Respect, 1984, Might Have Been Queen, Steel Claw, and more. Private Dancer is one of those albums, and I feel like maybe I say this a lot, but I tend to research very notable musicians, but Private Dancer is one of those albums that can be listened to from start to finish. Every song is unique and executed with perfection. Private Dancer is truly a masterpiece. Many people say that this album was sort of like a divorce anthem, and I really couldn't agree more. If you take a close listen to the lyrics in many of the songs, you will know the sentiment is accurate. Take the song I Might Have Been Queen, for example. Toward the end of the song, Turner sings, quote, and I apologize, I tend to recite the lyrics instead of playing it, but I would just hate for all of this hard work to get destroyed for me uploading music that is not mine. So here's a dramatic reading of Might Have Been Queen. I look up to the stars with my perfect memory. I lived through it all, and my future's no shock to me. I look down, but I see no tragedy. I look up to the stars, till I find my destiny. I look up to my past, my spirit running free. I look down, and I'm there, in history. Oh, I'm a soul survivor. Damn right you are, Tina.
I sing songs from my album, Private Dancer, for you. This one is I Might Have Been Queen.
With the release of Private Dancer, Tina Turner became a household name in our home. I can remember dancing to the cassette tape in the living room of our first home. That burnt sienna carpet and navy blue floral couch really provided an excellent stage for my dancing and singing performances. I will never forget dancing to Tina Turner with my mom and sometimes my sister. It's funny when you look back on your childhood with a sense of nostalgia and also a bit of, I don't know, maybe horror, when you remember singing out loud when you were basically a toddler. I'm your private dancer, I dance out for money, do what you want me to do. Just a private dancer, I dance out for money, any old music will do. I think it's pretty obvious that my singing abilities are pretty much on par, if not better, than Tina Turner, so you're very welcome. And that's a lie. Despite those lyrics, which now I think maybe points to her having to dance and do cabaret acts to kind of make some money, it's kind of understandable why that lyric was in there. So me and my mom were clearly naive to the lyrics, and Tina Turner was such an iconic symbol of strength and perseverance that it didn't faze us one bit that she was, singing about kind of being a stripper of sorts. It's okay. Plus, when we got to watch her concerts on TV, we always laughed when my mom commented that her saxophone player looked like he was recently released from prison. Oh my God, I think Tina Turner is doing some kind of prison to work program. That saxophone player looks like he should be in jail. Same with the keyboard player. And I don't know why that does not sound like my mom at all, but anyways. In 1985, Turner is nominated for a Grammy for What's Love Got to Do With It? The next year, she gets a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and releases Break Every Rule. This album featured hit songs like Typical Male, What You Get Is What You See, and Back Where You Started. And outside of music, Tina finds love with a German music executive named Erwin Bach. They would eventually move to Switzerland and got married in 2013. In 1988, Tina appeared before 180,000 people in Rio de Janeiro, which was a record for a solo artist at the time. So just think about that. 1988, playing before 180,000 people. And think about just 10 years before that, she was in the midst of a divorce from an extremely abusive spouse, had no money to her name, sleeping on the floor, had a gas card, and that was it. And then look what happened. Absolutely incredible. Simply the Best, one of the greatest Tina Turner songs of all time, was featured on her 1989 album, Foreign Affair. In 1993, the film What's Love Got to Do With It is released in theaters. It is based off of her autobiography, I, Tina, which came out in 1986.
Wrong with you? Cut out all that wild gyration and blues shouting.
All she ever had was her voice and her dreams.
Your mama had to go away for a while.
When is she coming back to get me?
She ain't, honey. She just ain't.
All she ever wanted was a chance to make her dreams come true.
Every woman in here want to sing with Ike's band. Please don't leave me, baby.
That girl can sing! Girl, you shocked the hell out of me.
Say you want me to be his new favorite. Watch yourself. You know what they say about Ike. Darling,
Yes, Tina.
I think it's gonna work out fine. It's gonna work out.
Priceless, girl. Priceless.
She priceless, all right. She ain't seen a dime of it yet.
Everyone who's come up with me has left me.
I wouldn't do that.
Now, what the problem is?
I'm trying to help Ike, all right?
You trying to help Ike?
You got yourself a good man. You just keep him happy.
1, 2, 3, 4. She had given him everything he wanted.
You get in this car, Kevin. Get in the car. You can't keep hiding black eyes from us. I just can't walk out.
She never stopped believing things would change.
I just need a rest.
She's quite ill, and I'm not releasing her for at least another 3 weeks.
I need you to get out on that stage right now.
You can't get away from me, and I'm in here.
But if she ever wanted to find her dreams,
When you can see yourself clearly, your life will change.
she had to start believing in herself.
I made you. You wasn't nothing without me, and you ain't gonna be nothing without me.
I'll give it all up. Just release the claim on my name.
Means you're going to walk out of here with absolutely nothing.
Except my name.
Touchstone Pictures presents the story of a remarkable woman who refused to give up.
I'm ready. I'm ready, and I know what I want.
And despite the fact that I have been such a big fan of Tina Turner my entire life, I have never been able to watch the film. I just can't handle the thought of watching what she went through. Plus, I'm a big baby. And have you noticed that I've never discussed any scary movies on the show? There's a reason for that. P.S. After my sister saw Silence of the Lambs, she was terrified to go into basements. So, there you go. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Turner wasn't just a musician, she was also an accomplished actress. In 1975, she starred in Acid Queen. In 1985, she starred in the infamous Mad Max and the Thunderdome movie. You may remember her musical contributions to the film, including One of the Living and one of my all-time favorite Tina Turner songs, We Don't Need Another Hero. Finally, in 1993, she starred in Last Action Hero, which I think, was that with Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger? I can't remember. Anyways, I also don't like action movies. Sorry. Not sorry. I have a very narrow, limited amount of movies I like to watch. Anyways, in 1996, Turner released her 9th studio album, Wildest Dreams. This album featured songs such as the theme to the latest James Bond movie at the time, GoldenEye, Whatever You Want, and her infamous and sultry duo with Barry White, a song called Wildest Dreams. That was a horrible impression of him. I'm so sorry. It was very disrespectful. His voice is amazing. I'm not kidding. Anyways, taking inspiration from this album and Tina herself, Oprah, who my family just loves and adored. We went to her show and there was a whole episode on Oprah. Oprah had a Wildest Dreams tour and a bus, if I remember correctly. She drove around the country fulfilling viewers' dreams, and Winfrey ended up performing with Tina as well. After Turner passed, Oprah said about it, quote, I had the chance to join Tina on stage during her Wildest Dreams tour and felt a glimpse of her enchanted world. I was so nervous that my knees were actually knocking together. Dancing on stage with her in Los Angeles was the most fun I ever remember having stepping out of my box. Tina lived out of the box and encouraged me and every woman to do the same. Which was really nice that Tina could be so patient with Oprah because, I think we all know that Oprah is brilliant. She has encouraged generations and millions upon millions of people to read. She is a journalist. She is an excellent interviewer, but my good Lord, she cannot dance in time and is not great at remembering lyrics because if you watched her show growing up, you know darn well that she could not lip sync accurately. Anyways, 24/7 came out in 1999. After its release, Turner announced that she would be retiring from music and touring. However, she would later come out of retirement, temporarily, in 2013 to honor her incredible 50 years in music. The 24/7 tour kicked off in 2000 and sold more than 100 million in ticket sales and earned a spot in the Guinness Book of World Records for more tickets sold than any other solo performer in history. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Ike, okay? Suck it. Suck it, Ike. Tina rules, Ike drools. That was dumb. I was lucky enough to attend a concert during the 24/7 tour with my mom. To this day, and I have always said this, it is one of the best concerts I have ever been to. She played at the United Center. I'm not sure if it's still called that. It's the large stadium where the Chicago Bulls play or used to play. Anyways, I'll never forget how the cameras kept panning around all of the audience members. You know, that always happens. And I noticed that Oprah, Gail, and Dr. Phil were all in the front row, rocking out. How hysterical is that? My mom sent me a photo of our ticket stubs after Tina passed away. She still has them. We saw her perform on Wednesday, October 4th, 2000 at 7:30 p.m. I was just 17 years old. In the almost 25 years since, this show still stands out as being superb, and Tina was 61 years old when I saw her. She did not skip a beat, even with the dancers who were easily 40 years younger than her.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tina Turner.
I'll still never forget seeing Tina Turner come out on what best can be described as sort of like a cherry picker off of the stage where she's kind of can move around and really get near some of the audience members. It was unbelievable. I was completely and utterly starstruck. And I believe she was wearing like a one-piece white leather jumpsuit at 61 years old. I couldn't pull that off 20 years ago. So there you go. I like how this episode is essentially me just throwing myself under the bus, but that's all right. I can accept it. I can accept it. 24/7 would sadly be the last studio album recorded by Turner. After her retirement from music, Turner spent a lot of time focused on her Buddhism practice, gaining her Swiss citizenship, say that 10 times fast, and developing a documentary film about her life. In 2016, the development of Tina the Musical was announced, and in 2018 it opened, which I completely don't remember hearing about. Maybe it's because my kids were so little at the time, but my God, I would have liked to have seen that. But I did see somebody perform as Tina Turner on a cruise ship, and it was pretty bad. So anyways, in 2018, Turner's son, Craig, sadly died by suicide. She commented in interviews that she really isn't quite sure what pushed him to the edge, but she noted that perhaps his loneliness finally got the best of him. Just 4 years later, the son she had with Ike, Ronnie, died of colon cancer. In 2021, Turner was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. On May 24th, 2023, the world lost one of the greatest female performers of all time. In 2016, she had been diagnosed with intestinal cancer, and that, coupled with some other medical complications, led to her passing at the age of 83. In her lifetime, Turner sold over 180 million copies of her records. She received 12 Grammys and a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. Further, she received 3 Grammy Hall of Fame inductions. She was also the first Black artist and woman to be on the cover of Rolling Stone. The publication also named her as one of the 100 greatest artists of all time. She was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice, once as a part of the duo with Ike and also for her solo contribution to music. She was also one of the first Black artists to appear in consistent rotation on MTV. And that's really just the tip of the iceberg. And that's really frustrating that Black artists were not in heavier rotation on MTV. That is, well, I guess maybe that's a topic for another show because that's very frustrating, to say the least. And remember, too, Tina Turner was so well accomplished when she passed away, something I imagine no one would argue with, of course. One thing that is really important to remember, though, is that she achieved all of this success despite years and years of abuse at the hands of Ike Turner, and also without any formal singing or dance training. You heard me right. Tina had no formal training in either discipline. I believe she sang quite a bit in church, but, not like a vocal coach that she started working with when she was, 3 years old. Yet both of these things came to her so naturally and seemingly effortless. I hope you've enjoyed this look back at the life and career of Tina Turner, one of the greatest performers of all time. And whether or not you enjoyed her music as much as me and my family did, I think it's impossible to argue that she was just a 1 in a million talent, once in a generation, once in a lifetime. I will always be grateful that I was raised on her music and that my mom was able to take me to see her perform, which was really a bucket list item for both of us. I hope you will join me for my next show, where we will take a look back at another fascinating facet of the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s in memory of my sister. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to give a special shout out to Jamie and Milo over at the 80s and 90s Uncensored Podcast. They have been so incredibly supportive and inviting me to join this sort of collaborative effort among several pop culture podcasters, which has been a ton of fun, and having me on their show, which has just been really wonderful experience. So please check out the 80s and 90s Uncensored Podcast. I'll make sure to post a link to their show in the show notes. So until next time, be kind, be safe, and hold on to your memories.